My name is obviously Mitchell, and today I thought I'd come on live and just do some revisions. So we're going to be covering just like it's topic 4. Let me find what topic 4 is called. On educate really quickly. It's called natural selection and what is this? What does it say? I'm just going to put biology in the middle. Might just put biology in the middle. Should I just put evolution? Okay. So so first of all, we're going to start off with defining evolution. We're going to write down that evolution is a change in the inherited characteristics of a population over time. And then what evolution could do is that it could may result in new species. Formation of a new species. Then we'd go on to say that the main person that we think about when we think about evolution is obviously Charles Darwin. Let me write that. So Charles Darwin is someone we talk about when we think about evolution. And who was he? Well, he was a British naturalist. And what he did is he proposed the theory of evolution. And we can also note down that in 1831, he set out on a voyage and he went to a group of islands called the Galapagos Islands. And there I'm pretty sure he looked at different species and just looked at the variation and differences in them. And then a friend of Charles Darwin is actually someone called Alfred Russel Wallace. And he proposed his own theory independently, and then he came together with Darwin to propose their theory. What else can I talk about? So we can also say that we can define what natural selection is. Hold up. Sorry. Okay, so we can say that natural selection, we'll start a new one here. Natural selection. Let me just say, hello everyone, thank you for joining. Don't forget to subscribe. And tell me if you want me to revise anything else online, just tell me. Okay, so natural selection, we'd say that it's when the genes that the organism has that enable them to be better adapted So that would be like survival of the fittest, like being able to like, I don't know, being a giraffe and being able to reach the tree, the fruit in the trees. So then they would reproduce and new species would be formed. And then the ones that are too slow or aren't like genetically like lucky, I guess you could say, they may become extinct. So, oh, this pencil's not working. May become extinct. And it's, I guess, important to note that there's a difference between extinction and oh, someone says say happy birthday to you, hope you have a great day. So when we say extinct, we're saying that the like species have been completely wiped out. And then when we talk about endangerment, we're saying that they're not like wiped out yet, but they're at risk of being wiped out. Then we start talking about mutations. So we're going to go over here and mutations. And we say, what are mutations? Well, mutations are basically a random change in the DNA. Okay, so not all mutations are harmful. Some of them are, but they generally like most mutations have no effect on the phenotype, but some obviously influence it. And when we think about how mutations that can be caused, well, there's different ways. And one very popular way is that a mutation is caused by, we can say, ionizing radiation. Okay, then we move on to say, like, how can we know that evolution is ongoing? Well, there's things like, I'm gonna have to write in the corner of the page, bacterial resistance, so like antibiotic resistance as well, where they're growing resistant to the things that are meant to be killing them. When we think about, okay, now we're going to move on and we're going to talk about more evidence for evolution. Oh, sorry, I just moved the camera. Yes?
When it came up, I just got it.
Okay, so when we think about evolution, there are 3 different key skeletons that there are to know, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so the first skeleton is RD. And we can say that this skeleton was around 4.4 million years ago. Then there was the next one, which has come to be known as Lucy. And this was around 3.2 million years ago. Oh, years ago. And there is one more, which is actually called Leakey, found by Lewis and his wife, Leakey, or you can call it Decana Boy. So there is Leakey. Wait, how do you spell it? Yeah, Leakey, and that was found 1.6 million years ago. There we go. So, and also another thing that could have evidence for evolution is the tools that we've used. So we've gone from using more primitive tools, and these were around like maybe like 2.5 million years ago. And we've evolved to using more advanced tools in the last like 10,000 years. Okay, so also when we've, Michaela, can you please be a bit quiet? Thank you. When we think about evolution as well, we find that what we have in common with a lot of the organisms have in common is that they have what's called a pentadactyl limb. And this is very, very simple. It just simply means that it's basically just penta means 5 and limb pentadactyl. It's just a 5-fingered limb. That's basically what it is. And okay, moving on. Wait, oh no, wait, so what these 3 different skeletons, what they've changed is that we've seen an increase in brain size. We've seen that there's been an increase in the size of their arm and legs, in arm and leg length. And then we could also see that there's been an increase in height. And they have an increase in bone structure. No, wait, not an increased bone structure. That doesn't make any sense. There's been a change in their bone structure. Sorry, guys. Got a bit carried away. Change in bone structure. Okay, so we've talked about evolution and sort of like what it means overall. And then we've talked about evidence for evolution. We're now going to move on to... Now we're going to move on to how this influences like modern areas of biology. So I'm going to start on the other side of the paper. And we can say that it's changed the classification of things. I put down the classification just simply means like how species are related to each other, like putting them in groups. Related species. It's also changed like their genetics, which would be like how the characteristics are inherited. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to... What are we gonna move on to next? Now we're gonna move on to like classification, like more about classification and selective breeding. So what we have is something called the 5 kingdoms. I'm gonna write this very big. What happened? Kingdoms. And the 5 kingdoms are, if you know them, please comment them in the comment section. 5 kingdoms are, I'm going to do them in the order that I have them. Animals, plants, fungi, however you say it, and they're protists and prokaryotes. Have I spelled that wrong? Yeah, there's an E. Prokaryotes. So these are the 5 kingdoms that we've got, and then we can also say that but then it was found that this was wrong, and they were actually changed into the 3 domain system. So we can sort of like maybe punch it down here and say that there's actually 3 domains. I don't know. Say 3 domain system. See that it was changed to the 3 domain system, which we're going to put as the first one is archaea, and then we've got bacteria, and we've got eukaryota. So then we remember that the archaea are the ones that live in extreme environments and they have no nucleus. The bacteria also have no nucleus. And the eukaryota have a nucleus. So we'll just put nucleus. And then we also have the system invented by Carl Linnaeus, where he's ordered them, like there's 7 different ones. So we'll just put Carl Linnaeus. How do you spell Linnaeus? Linnaeus. And then he said that there was kingdom, phylum, and the next one is class, order, family, family, genus, and species. And my way of remembering this is just going, so like you remember the mnemonic for it is to remember the first letter of each one. So I'll tell you guys now. It's kids prefer candy over fresh green salad. That's how I remember the different ones, because that's like the first letter of each of them. I just thought that was really cool. Hello everyone, thank you for joining. Hope you're enjoying the live. So basically, when we talk about the different ones, they're written in Latin. These are all written in Latin. This is to ensure that it doesn't get lost in translation, basically. Then we're gonna move over and talk about selective reading. So in the process of, I'll put selective reading at the top. Selective reading is used to get the desired characteristics we want and put them in the offspring. So the first thing we do is you have to decide the characteristics which you want. So the desired characteristics that are important. So I'm just gonna characteristics. Then you're gonna choose the parents, obviously, the 2 ones that you're gonna breed together that show these characteristics. But show characteristics. Then the third thing you're gonna do is you're gonna breed them together. And then once you get the offspring that you get from breeding them together, then you just repeat the process. You repeat it over and over again until you've got the amount that you need. I'll put another exclamation mark, another one. There we go. Okay, so that's the process of selective breeding. I'll put it in a nice box. Okay, so now we move on to genetic engineering. So genetic engineering, genetic modification, I'm pretty sure are the exact same thing. Genetic engineering. So genetic engineered plants are also known as genetically modified. Genetic modification. Genetic modification. Okay, so you can interchange the 2 terms. And basically, the characteristics that they genetically modify or engineer these plants to have are things such as disease resistance, or they change them so that they're drought resistant, or they could change them so that they're like resistant to the pests. So pest resistance. Oh, I forgot how to spell resistance. And last thing would be just like producing larger yield. So larger yield will do. And then things they could do as well is just herbicide resistance. So maybe I'll put yeah, I think that's enough. And then another thing that genetic engineering is also useful for is to it's useful in medicine. I'll put that here. Let's zoom in a bit so you guys can see it. Useful in medicine, and this is just to make insulin. Insulin for diabetic patients to, you know, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going on the sheet of paper because there is some gaps. Then we move on to cuttings and how we replicate plants that we want. So I'm gonna do that down here, maybe. If you go here, we're gonna do cuttings.
Hi guys, so how are you doing? So yeah, poo poo poo, get that poo. Hi Sissy.
Hello. Stop doing that, please.
Doing what?
So when we do the cuttings, what they do is that a branch from the parent plant is cut off. Maybe I'll do this in drawings. Okay, I'm going to attempt to draw it. So we get a branch. Okay, let's draw a branch being taken from the parent plant. So we get the branch. And then basically we get the leaves from it. And we get it and we put the thingy into, we'll say that this is, oh, that looks like bread. I think I'm a bit hungry. We put it into the... I'm trying to draw it. Basically, what's happening is we're putting it into the plant pot. Doesn't really look the same again, but whatever. Then what happens is that the stem is planted inside the compost. So this is compost in here. And inside of there, we've obviously got plant hormones.
Now the next one can be some dots.
And we'll put rooting powder.
It can't flow down. Okay, so do this.
And then what will happen, it's usually covered in a clear plastic bag. Oh no, not the plastic bag. Oh, what's going on? Oh wait, that actually looks good. We can cover it in a plastic bag. And this is basically so it stays moist and warm. Moist and warm. And then after a few weeks, you're going to get the same plant. Let me try and draw it again. Yeah, that's close enough. There we go. Then you go from that to that. You get your own very copy of it. Okay, so now we're going to do something called tissue culture. Let's do tissue culture over here. Put tissue.
Teacher, yeah, look what she made me to do. Clean it up right now.
And tissue culture is when we scrape off the bits of the plants, the cells, I think. Pretty sure. Actually, no, it's not. Never mind. That's not the right thing. This is when you get the small pieces of the plants. They're called explants. Get off the small piece. So let's say this is a bit of a plant here. Yeah, this is another bit as well. Yeah, bye. And then you put them in this Petri dish that has nutrients in it and agar and stuff. And then the samples, they develop. Let's put the plants in. And we'll put this one as well. And then they develop into tiny plantlets. Okay, this is really testing my drawing skills. Here's one here. And then you put them into the compost thing. Just like this one over here. Put it into the compost thing. Let's draw it again. Okay, that's basically tissue culture in my amazing drawings. Okay. Next thing we're gonna move on to is genetically modified crops. I don't know if I have space on this paper to do it. Should I just do it down here? Okay, I'm gonna do it down here. So, genetically modified crops, they affect your yield, and basically what your yield is, it is, oh, I spelled yield wrong. Whoopsies. What your yield is the amount of food we get from a crop. So amount of food from a crop. And then basically, when you genetically modify crops, it can also help with herbicide and pesticides. So I'll put herbicides and pesticides. So what the herbicides do is that, pretty sure they just like they just kill the weed plants, so they kill weed. I will put X. Oh no. Kill the weed plants, and pesticides are there to kill the pests. That's pretty obvious. So I'll put kill pests. Another thing is transfer of genes. So during pollination, what could happen is that the genes from one plant could be transferred to another plant. And that's basically it. And then there's food safety. Some people believe that, some people believe that GM foods, and GM is just basically genetically modified foods, are like unsafe because of the extra gene. Yeah, extra gene. And yeah, that's basically it for this topic on evolution that I've done my research for. Yeah. Should we do another subject? Let's do... Nah, okay. We'll come back. I will be back next time to do some revision. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah. Evolution by Mindful Michelle. See you next time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.